What is your definition of true success?
And just being happy doing what you're doing is being successful. Yeah, I mean, I might end up sounding like a Guruji here, but money is not everything.
What do you think can be an approach if Nithin Kamath were to become the finance minister?
Majority of India doesn't even make 100 rupees a day. You know, it's not just 1% of India which is growing. We need majority of India which is growing.
Can you walk everybody here through what is a 0 to 10 crore journey like? What is the 10 crore to 100 crore journey like?
So 1997, 98 is when I first started trading the markets. I was 17 and a half. So I dropped out of my engineering college, saved some money, blew it up, worked in a call center for 3-4 years. You know, a lot of time people ask me, what's the success behind Zerodha? I think younger guys come to me and say, Nithin, I want to build a business. I say, business is hard. It's not easy to build. Like, this whole illusion that, hiring more people, throwing more people at problems will somehow solve the problems. I think more people complicates the problems. One of the things I take a lot of pride in as Zerodha is that we haven't ever spent a single rupee on marketing and advertisement to date.
What would be your one key message to this room full of MSME business owners? What would you like to leave them with?
I think that one of the big issues for India has been that
a couple of weeks ago when you shared that tweet about your father-in-law, I reshared it and I said, Nithin Kamath is the Ratan Tata of our generation. Today I want to say, I think I was wrong. Nithin Kamath is the Nithin Kamath of our generation. Today Zerodha is the largest stockbroker in India. There's so much about him written, spoken, but my intention today is to go a little deeper into the soul, into the spirit, and into the values that make him who he is, and help me welcome our business icon for today, Nithin Kamath, everyone. Now, Nithin, like I said, everybody hears about Zerodha, watches the countless number of podcasts that people have invited you on, seen and read so much about Zerodha. But today we want to go a little deeper. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Are you okay with giving me the permission to ask you some awkward questions as well?
Yeah, my book's like open dictionary.
Open dictionary. So Nithin Kamath, unplugged, ladies and gentlemen, only here at Proficorn. Okay. Now.
Okay, before that, there's a backstory, So the last time I saw Rajiv on stage, my younger brother and him were trying to do modeling. This was back when I think you guys were in like, what, 6th standard?
We were 15 years old and we joined that summer camp only because we saw pretty girls.
Yeah, so it was a summer camp and I used to go drop my brother and, and these two guys were walking around trying to be like models,
Just for the record, I was Mr. Teen Bangalore 3rd place. Nithin's younger brother Nikhil was Mr. Teen Bangalore 2nd place.
Yeah.
And our good friend Mohammed was Mr. Teen Bangalore.
Yeah, by the way, there were 5 guys in that competition just.
You didn't have to say that. That was the secret between us. But in 5, I came number 3. Huh? Okay. Awesome. So firstly, thank you for being here, Nithin. And the reason we wanted you here was because there is so much noise around funding startups, and you've been someone who maintained your sanity and always said that raising money is not the solution to your problems, it probably adds to your problems. The reason why we curated Proficorn was because I was sharing with the group, back in 2020, I received a call from one of the entrepreneurs here, successful entrepreneur, 500 crore plus revenue, gives me a call and asks me, sir, funding kaise raise karte hain? And I said, aapko kyun chahiye? Why do you need funding? And he said, no, I'm reading this person's getting this much money, this person's getting this much valuation. Are we doing something wrong? So I want them to hear from you. Are they doing something wrong or this is sorted?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, when Rajiv said, the event and he said MSMEs and see, I consider myself as an MSME. I consider myself as a small-time entrepreneur because I believe that today's world is about the fast beating the big and not the big beating the small, right? And I want to be intentionally small, right? I don't want to become big because I know if I become too big, I'll become slower, right? And okay, so this, so I mean, I haven't really actually been to an event with so many entrepreneurs. So thanks for inviting me here, firstly. And,
You see, they are in love with you all.
Okay. Now, coming to raising money, okay, so Okay, so I'll give you another angle to this, right? As in, see, not all businesses can be built without capital, right? As in, I think in today's world, a lot of technology businesses also, if you're not a technologist, if you want to hire tech folks, etc., it costs money, as in, so you can't build, not all businesses can be built bootstrapped. But the thing about valuation, it's actually been overrated of sorts over the last few years, right? As in this raising capital. Not a lot of people think about it, but I think raising funds, venture capital, is like taking a loan. Do you celebrate just because someone around you took a loan? You don't, right? And I'm always confused. Why are people celebrating because someone raised so much money as venture capital, right? Because when you raise money, so today we invest, right? As in, we run a fund incubator called Rain Matter, and we invest. We have 100 plus investments, and I think we've invested like 500 crores over the last 2-3 years. And the thing is, every time we invest, I tell the founder, I tell him, boss, right? This comes with liquidity preference, right? What is liquidity preference? As in, if you as a founder take 10 crores from me, you have to return this 10 crores first before you see any money, right? So that means the more money you raise, the more loan you're raising from the market, right? Technically, right? As in, so unless you're able to return that money, you can't see any upside from the business, So, and not all businesses can scale large enough for you to be able to actually be able to return the money that you're raising, right? And so I think there was some weird kind of behavior over the last 3-4 years, and I think it was largely fueled by like cheap money in the US, right? As in a lot of money that came to India actually came from the US, and the interest rates were zero and etc. But it's already correcting, right? So I think venture capital is as I think it's a glorified loan, if you were to ask me. And I don't think people should be celebrated for raising funding. I think people should be celebrated for building a business that customers want, right? And not really for, just raising capital. And I'm usually quite vocal about this because there are very few people, who openly talk about this. And today, I think the success that we have had as a business, it's almost like a responsibility for me to come and share some of these things that not everyone shares, So thanks for giving an opportunity to talk here about this.
Thank you for being here. So, before we go into stuff that is unexplored, if there's someone here who's living under the rock, has no idea what Zerodha does and what Zerodha has accomplished over the years, would you like to take us through the early years of Zerodha? Because you know what? Today when someone reads 2,094 crores profit, they're like, wow, he's a big guy. But I know for a fact the start was small, and you've seen through your own days of challenges, struggles. So can you walk everybody here through what was the 0 to 10 crore journey like? What is the 10 crore to 100 crore journey like? What are the challenges? How did you navigate through them?
Yeah, so when someone says Zerodha started in 2010, right? In my head, actually, Zerodha started in 97, right? So 1997, 98 is when I first started trading the markets. I was 17 and a half, whatever. And I dropped out of my engineering college. I saved some money, blew it up, worked in a call center for 3-4 years. And then I came out, became a franchisee for a bigger broker firm. My younger brother joined me. He was a better trader than I was, but I was building online communities, etc. back then itself. So in 2008-9, we took a bet saying, let him continue trading the markets. I will try go building the broking business, and if it doesn't work, I'll get back to trading. And that's how Zerodha started in 2010. And I think my life lessons were mostly, before Zerodha started, and then after Zerodha started. A lot of time people ask me, what's the success behind Zerodha? I mean, amongst many things, I think, there is a saying, right, which is, sharpen your axe before you go chopping wood, right? I think this 12, 13 years that went before Zerodha actually helped significantly kind of build some moat over your competition after Zerodha started. So usually, when younger guys come to me and say, Nithin, I want to build a business, I say, business is hard. It's not easy to build, right? I mean, people look at me today and say, what, dude, you made so much money. But until I think 2015, 16, we didn't really have any money, right? As in, so 97 to 2015, that took 20 years to get lucky, right? And, so today it seems like, it was a quick journey, but it wasn't. I mean, I worked in weekenders. I've done those, 300 rupees a day, like stand in a place and give out pamphlets. I've done all of that, right? And it's taken a lot of struggle, a lot of mistakes, etc. But that learning that went in before Zerodha is really what has helped significantly after it. So, so the thing is, when Zerodha started, right, as in, I was not a very ambitious guy. Like, I mean, even today I'm not ambitious, right? As in, I'm not like, I don't get up every day and say, you know what, I need to make this much money or I need to get to this many customers, etc. The mental framework is you get up every day and improve on something, right? I don't know what it is, right? As in, you get up daily and, you know, so, you know, be it product, be it support, be it, you know, be it whatever, right? As in, and the thing is, this small improvements really, it compounds over time, right? As in it, one of the things I think we've done well as a business is, you know, the attrition rates are really low. As in, I think we are probably the only tech company of our scale in Bangalore which has not had attrition. In a sense, 2 people have left our tech team till date, you know, so.
And this is 2 from a team of?
There are around 40 people. I mean, we are
on the tech team?
On the tech team. I mean, we're an 1,100 people team. See, the thing is, there was a time when Zerodha started, right? As in, I came from the same traditional sense of building a business, saying more people means somehow a larger business. So we've gone from 5 lakh customers to like 1.1 crore customers with 1,100 people on the team, right? And my dad is like, dude, why are you not having more people? And I'm like, no, you don't need more people, you know, just to build a large business. And because back in the day, back when we started Zerodha in 2010, I mean, I just heard the lady before this talk about it, and like, you know, this whole illusion that, you know, hiring more people, you know, throwing more people at problems will somehow solve the problems. I think more people complicates the problems, right? As in, you know, more people don't really end up solving. And a lot of my thinking, a lot of my philosophy is also driven by, you know, I think there's Kailash who heads our tech, you know, he's like CTO in the business. He joined us in 2013-14. And a lot of my thinking, you know, kind of has evolved around with him. You know, so I call him almost my spiritual guru. You know, so the first 3 years of the business. Sorry, I digressed. You know, coming back to your questions. When we started the business, I was not very ambitious. The idea was that, you know, I had built these online communities, and, you know, traders in this place were paying very high brokerage costs. The idea was to see if we can lower the cost. And the second thing that, you know, what we were trying to do is to see if we can build transparency in the business, right? The thing about financial services businesses is it's very opaque in the way it works. Like, you know, pick up a credit card statement, try to find out how much you actually paid, right? It's really hard to figure that. Or, you know, you call up the call center and try to figure it. It's really hard to figure that. We said we need to simplify this. And the only way we thought we can simplify is by having one deal for all our customers. I mean, that decision has been probably the most important decision of my life. You know, completely serendipity, you know, like in the sense, it was not really thought through, you know, like it'll help in multiple ways. Because the only reason today our profitability is because we have not complicated the business. The business is extremely simple. All the 1.1 crore customer at Zerodha get the same exact product, same exact deal. The thing in financial services, it's very tempting to kind of customize offerings just because the customer says, you know what, I'll give you a little more money. But as soon as you start customizing, you know, it becomes very hard to scale it, right? And, you know, so yeah, so it's, yeah, so the first 1 to 3 years we were trying to do more around pricing and transparency and blogging. I think 2013 is when the first competitor came around the scene, and he copy-pasted everything that we were trying to say and do. And that's when it hit on me that this is not a moat, right? As in, a business needs to have a moat to be able to, you know, grow continuously. And that's when Kailash joined, and then our product journey started. So 2015 is when we launched our in-house products. 2016, you kind of realize that the big problem to solve in India is not, is to actually expand the market. Right? In India, back then, you know, I think there were like 60 lakh active Indians who were investing in the markets every year. So we said, you know, out of 120, 130 crores, forget 120 crores, say 7 or 8 crore people who file income tax return, you know, you need to have at least a lot more people to be investing in the market. And we said we can't do this on our own, and we need to collaborate. You know, another speaker spoke before, right, about this whole power of collaboration. So we opened APIs to our business, and we said we invited startups to come build on top of us. So think of us as Android and Play Store, right? As in, so today what happens, a customer at Zerodha not only gets access to what we've built, but he also gets access to all the products that are built on top of us. The difference with our collaboration was that we actually gave these startups our customers. Right? Usually what happens is, you know, today when you partner, you expect business from the partner. That's why you open up everything. But I understood, we understood that, the partner also has to do well, right? And we said, you also have to do well, you need to survive, so I'll make sure I'll give you business back. So it was a very, homogeneous kind of like a relationship, and it's turned out very well, So today we have I think 25 partnerships, such partnerships. And yeah, so I mean, the business, like I said, we kept improving, and 2020 is when COVID happened, and I don't know what happened to the world. And I actually sent an email to our entire team saying, you know what, shit hit the fan. We need to get into monk mode. But exact opposite happened. Which is suddenly you had this whole generation of people who were sitting on the fence, deciding to trade, invest, who said, you know what, I'll come into the market. And looking back at my journey, I think I give a lot of credit to luck, as in you need to put your hard work, etc. But luck is so important, and I think one of these things that I would want to share with you, which has worked very well for me, in terms of thinking of luck, is how do you increase the chance of becoming lucky in life, right? So my mental framework is there are two ways to do it. One is business is hard. You better be building a business around something that you love to do. Right? What it means that if you are doing what you love to do, the chances of you doing it for long enough is higher. So if you survive for long enough, the odds of getting lucky also increases, right? So that's one framework. Because if you're doing something that you don't like, you're potentially going to drop off at some point. And before you get lucky, you probably have dropped off. The second framework is, I think the odds of getting lucky increases the more the number of people want you to get lucky, the higher the odds of you getting lucky, right? Which means it starts from your family, your partner, your team, your customers, your vendors, etc. So what it means is being a decent human being is underrated, right? So if you're just decent to people, if you're actually doing what is right for your team, your customer, your vendors, etc. Today's world, the word of mouth is extremely powerful. It's a lot more powerful than whatever historically the planet has been at. One of the things I take a lot of pride in as Zerodha is that we haven't ever spent a single rupee on marketing and advertisement to date. As in a sense, we have partner programs, but they don't advertise. I mean, we don't spend acquiring any customer. All the customers who come to us, they've come through word of mouth. 1.1 crore customers. And someone asks me, Nithin, what is your CAC? I usually tell them it's minus 200 rupees because we actually make 200 rupees on every account opening. And that has happened because of doing what is right for the customer, for the team, the vendor, the industry, even for the competitors, right? As in, just doing it over a consistent period of time helps you build a brand. And I think these two things, just improves odds of getting lucky, and luck is really, I think, super important in life.
Thank you for breaking that down, Nithin. Nithin, I have a question. Recently, I saw an interview of yours where you said, the journey of building Zerodha was way more fulfilling than the journey when Zerodha became Zerodha, the brand. And here's a room full of MSMEs, right? And we are all hustling it out in our own businesses, trying to reach a certain promised land. So to the outside world, at least for your accomplishments, you are the guy who's seen the promised land. What about the promised land is a reality? What about it is an illusion? And why did you make that statement that the journey of building Zerodha was more fulfilling than the journey post-Zerodha becoming the brand Zerodha?
I mean, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? As in, me and Nikhil were just talking. He's the most eligible bachelor in town. And I'm like, dude, how does it feel like being like this way, right? And he's like, dude, it sucks, And, he's like, oh, how does it feel like, family man and whatever. I was like, oh, yeah, it's fun, but you know what? I would love to be a bachelor, So, yeah. So it's, so I get a lot of, people come to me and say this, dude, how does it feel to have all this money? See, the thing is, one of the realizations early was, of course, money brings freedom, and that freedom is really the ability to be able to do whatever you want, right? To be able to take bets. I love investing in startups and entrepreneurs. The freedom that money brings is really fantabulous. But the thing is, the true freedom I've experienced with money is only when I didn't want to do anything with the money, right? This whole, the thing is that I think we're all constantly thinking that money will somehow buy us happiness. Right? And it's a little cliched me saying it after making the money, but I'm saying, but I don't think it brings you happiness. I think if you're not happy without it, I don't think you'll be happy with it. And I think the real happiness is really doing what you love to do, right? And this is even when I'm thinking about my son right now, my only life goal with him is to find, is to figure a way to help him find what he is happy about doing. Otherwise, he'll also try to go spend money to find that happiness, right? So I almost think the other way I think about money now is, money and wealth is, I think one of the biggest problems for the planet is really wealth inequality. It's quite ridiculous how easy it is for me to make money today. Right? As in the sense, once you have so much money with you and so many contacts, like all the deals, like every guy was doing any fintech startup will come to me. I'll get to, invest at the lowest valuations. It'll return whatever, so it's almost an unfair game, and this inequality will only keep extending over time. If I feel this way, think about what, Elon Musk feels or Ambani. I mean, it'll be so much easier for them to make money, right? As in, and as the wealth inequality goes, I think it's not a good outcome for humanity, right? As in, the issue of today's capitalism is that, is that the wealth is getting more and more concentrated, and the eventual outcome of this is going to be some kind of a catastrophe, right? As in, you're already seeing it in some of the developed world, like almost like civil riots and wars and stuff like that. People will start questioning, like, why are only these people so rich? So I think the way I think about money and wealth is also that it brings an obligation, and wherever there is concentration of wealth, more should be done to use that concentration of wealth for betterment of society, right? And so and yeah, if you were to ask me what brings me most happiness about the money, as the promised land, it's really to be able to back entrepreneurs. We have set up a foundation. We started with a $100 million allocation. We have decided to give most of our financial success back. Even with the entrepreneurs, it's if you speak to any startup that we have partnered, my advice is the same. Before they take money, I say, dude, are you really sure you want to take money? And then when they call me and say, dude, I want to raise money, at whatever valuation, I'm like, why are you doing it? Because otherwise in today's world, what happens is every investor is constantly triggering the entrepreneur to raise money at higher valuation, because they can then mark to market their investment at a higher rate, right? So the incentive in the ecosystem today is to raise money constantly and at higher valuation. So I'm excited to be that sane voice around here that questions these people, saying, dude, why are you taking money when there is no need of taking money? Because money is an obligation, right? As in, money brings an obligation. And money also is I think it's a big distraction. The thing is today is when I think one of the things that we have again done right as a business is, just because we have the money, we are not doing random things in life, right? Because what happens is once you have the money, you suddenly are triggered to do random things. I haven't just become an insurance company. I haven't become a credit card company, or I'm not, doing bank. I'm not become a, I don't know, like
payment gateway.
Yeah, whatever. Right? Because today I can, if I really want to. But then my framework is that I will do what is core competency to me. Right? I will do what I love to do. As in, when I say I'm meaning our core team, what we like and love to do, and everything else will collaborate and partner. So we don't get distracted from what we are doing as a core as a business. I think in today's world, there is no status quo. Everyone's going to get disrupted, right? I mean, if you're not sharp, you're not nimble, you're not moving fast enough, like, you don't know. I mean, tomorrow morning you can wake up and there's someone who's come and taken away the business from you. So
I've heard you say this so many times. You're one regulation away from being shut.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, is that the issue of raising money, at valuations. I mean, to the earlier question, what happens is, every entrepreneur is constantly wanting to raise money at the max valuation, right? But to be able to raise at max valuation, you have to sell a certain story. Yeah. And that story is really the most optimum outcome possible, right? I mean, no one is going to undersell the story, right? I mean, every entrepreneur almost always oversells it. Now, the problem is once you've oversold it to the investor and raised money, the investor next quarter will ask you, dude, you told me this story, what is happening to the business, right? Now you're under pressure. Now what you'll do, you go to your team and sell the same story. Now the story that you had said, like, I'll just give an example for, in our industry, a lot of, so India has around 8-9 crore Indians who file income tax returns, right? Out of that 8-9 crore Indians, 1.5-2 crore Indians actually pay any income tax. Okay, so just setting the context. So I met this one of our competitors actually. I saw his deck, And it said that by 2027, India will have 40 crore investors. I'm like, dude, what is this guy smoking, right? And how the hell, like today India has, 1.5 crore people who are, actually paying some tax. How will 40 crore Indians invest in the stock markets, right? When
Was he talking about bots investing?
I mean, I don't know what it was, but yeah. So I think even for entrepreneurs who want to raise money, I think a good idea is to actually undersell, right? Because if you undersell to your investor, I give this example. It's like, think of going on a first date with a future partner. You don't want to oversell yourself. Right? I mean, you don't want to be married and she thinks that, whatever, right? I mean, if I go, say, assuming when I first met my wife, I told her, what, I get up at 4 a.m. every day and I run 10 kilometers every day, right? I mean, she would spot that I'm lying in no time, So investor is a long-term relationship. Undersell and get into it, because then it's easier to kind of match up to the expectations that you've set. Like I said earlier, not every business can grow without raising capital, as in some businesses need money. But if you're raising money, don't think of maximizing, oversell, because once you've oversold, you have to stick to that story, and that is, it's like being in prison. I've seen so many of my friends, they've sold something, and then, just because that one pitch deck, which that one oversold story is an obligation for the rest of their lives, building that business.
I've seen some of them raise money for a tech startup and then starting a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that happens as well. So I'm gonna draw back to the context over here. This is an MSME audience, right? So I have a question for you. You're someone who's seeing the markets. You're seeing India from probably a view that most of us are not seeing, because we are still building businesses, micro, small, medium enterprises. What do you think an MSME should look forward to when it comes to the India story? Everybody's talking about that this is the only country that has the growth sentiment. Everywhere else you go in the world, they're having recessionary emotions along with trends. So how should a micro, small, and medium enterprise business owner who's sitting here, probably running a services business, probably running a manufacturing unit or a dealer or a distribution business, how should they look at the India story based on what you have visibility to?
Yeah, see, the thing is, I think everyone knows the good side of India. The spotty sides of India, which is the harder sides of India, is that the TAM is really small, right? As in your target market, for all of us, we are all trying to sell to a certain audience who can pay us money for using the services, right? Product or services, and that is really small. I don't think it's more than 20 crore Indians, like in whatever.
So you're saying there is 20 crore Indians who have the spending capacity and power.
Yeah.
When you're building a business, evaluate it from that as being the optimum market and not necessarily the population size that everybody keeps talking about.
I mean, through the foundation, we're doing a lot of research work. Majority of India doesn't even make 100 rupees a day. So they are not going to be spending on anything that we got to sell. So it's, right, as in, so really, yeah, so the TAM is a subset of 20 crores. I think India is going digital. There is no two ways about it. But the thing about the Indian market that like it's a different market. A lot of people have tried to copy paste what has worked in the US, China, etc., and it has not flown here, right? I think even with Zerodha, I think the reason say a counterpart of ours who's doing a similar business in the US is a company called Robinhood, right? And say if you were to compare both our businesses, we're poles apart. I mean, they've raised a lot of money and etc., but they're still losing a lot of money. And when I look at it, I think the way we approached the business in India was, saying that it was accidental. It was not like, we had planned for this, but we had built a business first for power users, and then we said, what, we need to go mass market. Right? So when we started Zerodha in 2010, like I said, our objective was to reduce trading cost. So we were focusing on traders. Traders are the ones who generate the most revenue for us. And once we started, we had some predictability in revenue. We said, what, we need to be more ambitious now, and we want to build a product for mass market. And today we don't charge any commissions for investors. And the only reason we can do it is because our traders are subsidizing for it, right? But if the traders weren't there, this business model wouldn't have worked. I couldn't be 0 rupees and be making any money at all, which is what, say, a Robinhood is in a spot of bother for. So I think, when you're thinking of India, it's okay to look at, businesses across the world, but I think we have to build for India in the India context, and that India context is very different. The Indian consumer is very different.
How are they different? If you can kind of break down behaviors, you've seen businesses across. How is the Indian consumer different?
No, I mean, see, the thing is, they're very price conscious, of course, right? As in, every Indian is always constantly looking for bargain. But like, there's a weird behavior when it comes to financial services. Like, like for my dad, right? As in, even today, if he wants to buy, say, a tomato, like, in a vegetable shop, he'll go bargain, right? For like, if 10 rupees a kilo, he'll say 7 rupees a kilo, whatever. So, but his friend will call him up and say, why don't you put this 50,000 rupees in this mutual fund? Like, in 1 minute he would buy that mutual fund. It's kind of, as I said, it's a lot of dichotomy. I don't know if I can really point out what is the reason for such a irrationality from my dad, right? But this is not just my dad. It's actually common. If you pick up 70-80% of the room here, for money decisions they will probably trust someone else very easily, right? See, the thing is, all the new age businesses in India there aren't too many businesses that have done well, right? So I can't even pick up and choose and say, what, maybe these businesses have found a way to crack it. In all the new age businesses that have scaled in terms of users, it's on the back of freebies. So we know freebies works, right? As in, you keep throwing freebies, customers will come, use your product, whatever. But, it's, so I mean, I can't really say what can work in India, but I mean, I don't know. It might sound vague, but I think that answer itself also is contextual to businesses. Like, in our business, a certain thing works. Like in our business, for example, in the business of money, credibility is very important, right? Because people trust the brand quite a bit before they actually invest or park some money there. So we've spent a lot of time and effort building credibility. When I say building credibility, we have realized that credibility comes through, just not through advertisement, but actually with your friends and family being credible. In a sense, if Rajiv told me, Nithin, I like that brand, I'll probably trust it better than I saw advertisement that says that brand is good, right? So what we have done at Zerodha, which has worked very well, is we have a referral program. This was there right from day one of the business. We share a percentage of revenue every time, a customer refers someone to us. We have 25 lakh people, 25 lakh customers of ours who have referred customers to our business over the last 13 years. So it's very, it's a very powerful medium. But not every business can build it the way we did. But I think if I can look at the journey as in, I think everyone should think about how they can build a referral program which is sustainable. I think one thing so our referral program today is exactly the same program what was there in 2010, right? And because you don't want to keep tweaking around with it just to optimize what is right for you. Because what happens with referral programs, what I've seen is every time you start tweaking it, people actually spot you tweaking it and stop trusting your referral program itself, right? So just keeping it consistent, keeping that same program for a long time. Maybe like in terms of Indian behavior, that's something which is probably a takeaway for some of you.
Awesome. Another point that you mentioned, that today you're not seeing any business credibly growing and most of them are offering freebies. And I think the victims of the freebies are in this room. Because here are micro, small, and medium enterprise business owners who don't have deep pockets for cash burning, giving out freebies to their customers and acquiring customers. So if you were to guide or recommend something to an MSME business owner who is facing this trend in their industry where there is a money guzzling startup that is giving out freebies, how should they navigate it? Is it a matter of time? Is it that they should also have this ambition of competing with them and going out there raising money? How would you navigate such a situation?
No, it's happened for us as well, right? As in, especially in 2021, a lot of our competitors raised a lot of money, and you open an account, they'll give you 1,000 rupees, a free T-shirt, and whatever. And we were charging an account opening fees, So one, see, the thing is, like all entrepreneurs, right? I think business is about building moats, right? The business is about building something that's very hard for someone else to copy. I mean, you need to be able to say and do something which is not easy for someone else to say and do. Because if someone else can really catch up with you very easily, then it becomes a commoditized business. And in a commoditized business, the deepest pockets usually wins. There is no two ways around it. So, I mean, unfortunately, the last 2-3 years was a lot of stupidity, but I think that's over for now. I mean, I don't think so much money will come, but the culture of still giving freebies to get a customer, maybe not, maybe like my competitor today doesn't give 1,000 rupees plus a free t-shirt, but he's probably still giving a free t-shirt, right? Or a movie ticket or whatever. The culture of freebies to attract customers will always be there as long as entrepreneurs are trying to go raise capital, right? Okay. Because, so you cannot get away from it. So I think as entrepreneurs, I think we have to just look at our product and offering and say, what can we do which is different? Because eventually that is the only thing that will, kind of help you kind of build a business and continue growing. Otherwise, there is no free money, right? As in, there's so much VC money coming into this country, all the free money is going to disappear. Any easy money out there, there'll be some business will come and take it away. So you just have to be quick on your feet and just keep improving on your product and offerings.
Awesome. So build a differentiator, build something that nobody else can say and do.
Yeah, and also take a counter position. Counter positioning is like like for example, as Zerodha, right? Like one of the reasons we didn't raise venture capital is because it was like a business strategy itself, which is to say that then I can say and do stuff which is very hard for my competition to say and do, which is like, just to give a simple example, we have a no spam policy. So we never spam a customer with anything, right? We don't send an email, push notification, SMS, unless the customer wants it. Whereas I think every competitor of ours does it 10 times a week, right? As in, now, while this seems like a very low-hanging kind of a fruit, as in, what's the big deal with it? But every customer out there who cares about it will trade with us. Why will he go use someone else? And I know that our competition will find it very hard to say, I am no spam, because they have promised a certain story to their VC and they have to do that spam to be able to get activity or get new business and etc. So I think it's contextual to every business. I mean, I think it's about just finding your positioning, as in, finding what is that which is very hard, for your competitor to copy. And like I said earlier, right at the start, I think the world is about, the fast beating the slow and not the big beating the small. So as MSMEs, I think we all have edge. Like I said, I still consider myself as an MSME because I think the day I'm slow is when, the business will get disrupted.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, I'm going to go a little like things that business owners talk about, but it's not necessarily spoken about in an event like this. Taxation. Okay? I think, would it be fair to say we are all proud to contribute to the country, but when we don't see the reciprocative benefits of that reaching down to the grassroots level, it also pinches not just our pockets, but also our hearts and minds. You have a voice in the country. What do you think can be an approach if Nithin Kamath were to become the finance minister? Now I'm putting you in another... we'd love to have someone like that.
Yeah. Okay? No, I mean, coincidentally, I was in a room full of ministers last Saturday, and I was asked exactly the same question. I was like, not as finance minister, of course. They said, like as a business owner, as a startup, etc. What is the issue? How would you solve for it?
Yeah.
And see, I think the issue with regulations today is, the way it's not today's government. Historically in India, not just the government, but even the regulators. Like whatever we have across banking and etc. I think the issue is when people misuse and there are frauds in the system, they have this, they come up with this new regulation that affects everyone except the fraud, because the fraud will still find another loophole to do the fraud, right? And it's just, it's over time, it's actually ended up complicating life. I think the way India should approach this is actually make financial violations as severe and strict as possible. Just increase audits, make sure, you can do it in a way where, bribe, etc. doesn't come into play. If you can set examples of people who are making frauds and scare the frauds from doing more frauds. That's a lot more. I think that's a better approach than trying to make regulations so hard that it affects everyone else, right? I think what India needs as a country is we need more people paying taxes. It's ridiculous. I mean, the amount of evasion, right? Because everyone is constantly, like even I was, after this 7 lakh rupees, whatever, for TCS, I was sitting with a bunch of guys, like some friends of mine, and they're already talking about doing this from credit cards of their wife, just to get around the 7. So I think it's a systemic problem in this country. We, all of us, all the time are trying to figure a way to save or evade taxes. And I think it has to change. All of us have to change. Because if everyone paid their taxes which are due, the country also will do much better. And if country does well, all our businesses will do well as well. So it's, I don't think it's right to blame just the government here.
Yeah.
I think the blame lies, with all of us. So I think if there's something that we can all do is go around and make sure every time someone you meet, tell him to pay whatever taxes is due. Because if you can do it over a period of time, maybe structurally something will change in this country. So.
Yep. And another question, and this was a question from one of the entrepreneurs here. His name is Devinder Singh Nagpal. And he asked this beautiful question. How do you deal with red tapeism in the country? Because, like, I have friends, and now we had the elections. I had friends who said, Rajiv, I'm traveling through the month of elections so that I don't receive calls. That's the challenge at the topmost level of the pyramid. And then you have businesses who have to deal with bureaucracy, inefficiency, huzuri. How do you deal with all of this and still keep yourself going?
Think of it as your moat, So
Think of it as your
moat.
Okay.
If all of this was so easy, you will have a lot more competitors, right?
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
So if you are able to get around all of this, it is actually a moat. To be able to operate in a world with bureaucracy and red tapeism is an edge you have as a businessman. So think of it as an edge and don't think of it as a burden. Because if it wasn't there would be 10 Zerodhas maybe.
Yeah, so, okay, deal with it, face it. Awesome. So I'm going to move now from the MSME side back to the inner success and the psychology aspect of it. I recently saw you tweet something about your father-in-law, with what simplicity he continues to live your life and how you really admire that. So I have a question for you. One, probably a cliched question, but I think it's important to bring it out for everyone here. What is your definition of true success? Because at the end of the day, we're all building businesses because we, quote unquote, want to reach that space called success. What's your definition of true success?
No, what is definition? No, I think just being happy is success. Just being happy doing what you're doing is being successful. Because there is no money number that will get you there, for sure. I can tell you after going through that journey. I thought, when I was young, my wall had pictures of the cars I wanted, the watches I wanted. And, so once there was Rolex, there was, like a different Rolex version, then there was Audemars Piguet, then was Richard Mille, there was, customized Richard Mille. So there is no end, you want to travel business class, then there is first class, then there is, like a charter, and then you want a jumbo jet, right? So there is really no end to this, in terms of, if you define success by something as a material goal, because there will always be someone else who's got more than you, and you will think he's successful and you're not, right? And I find I find my father-in-law extremely successful because he's really happy doing what he's doing, right? And even as a business, like I said earlier, like we've never started a year with any goal, right? As in, I find this whole putting a goal post and chasing it down a little, it might be a little counterintuitive me saying, in a place like this, but when you put a goal post, what happens is when you go near the goal post, you're going to just extend the goal post even further, right? You will never reach your goal post, right? As in, there is no, if I had a goal of saying, getting to 1 lakh customers, when I'm in 99,000 customers, I'll send an email to everyone saying, oh, we'll be at 1 lakh, but now we need to get to 5 lakhs, right? And then you get to 5 lakh, 4 lakh, 50,000, then you're like, no, 5 lakhs, we need 50 lakhs. There's no end to this, so you will keep chasing. Then it's like, you're a hamster wheel, just running constantly, and then you forget that you have a life to lead, right? As in, I give a lot of my time. I think one of the things I've done well in the last 3-4 years is I give a lot more time for myself. I love to pursue a hobby. I take care of my health. I spend time with my family. I'm traveling. I'm holidaying. Because this whole, I think, I need to work 20 hours a day is overrated, right? I think life business is like a marathon. You want to be able to maintain the speed and finish it strong, right? And you don't want to like speed so fast that you get tired in midway and you feel burnt out. And this is something that we follow across in the businesses. And at Zerodha, we kill all work chat at 5:30 p.m. There is no weekend conversations. We have health challenges running in the office. So and it's just like I said, all of this, just to be able to do all of this and think like this, I think is for me personally, success. It may be different for different people, So I don't, there is no cut, copy, paste. But in my view, I think just being content is being successful.
So before you were coming here, I reached out to Nikhil. And I said, Nithin's coming here. What do you think I should ask Nithin to talk about? He just sent me a message. He's obsessed with health. So ask him to talk about that. And something that we talk about in our community as well is that business is only a part of your life. It's not your life. It's like you said, it's very counterintuitive for a business coaching environment and organization to say that to business owners. But that's something we've stuck to, saying business is just a part of your life. Don't make it your life. There's so much more to your life. And I get a lot of entrepreneurs who reach out and say that there's so much happening. How do I disconnect from everything that's happening and just say focus on my health, focus on my relationships? How have you found that balance or that ability to kind of disconnect from everything that's happening? And
no, I mean, it's not like I was born this way. So it's like there's been a lot of mistakes I've done in life, and but I think because I started like I said, Zerodha. My business journey is almost like 25 years old because it started quite early, and I was feeling burnt out at some point of time, and I knew that I need to slow down. And what was it quote? You need to take 2 steps back to go forward.
Go forward. Forward.
So something like that. It's that. As in, I think the way I think about health, right, is also I think it's a moat. Because I start it's this whole getting up early is cliched, but I like getting up early, and I get a workout. I love my music, so I play a little bit of guitar, and so I spend 2.5 hours early in the morning on myself, and I realize I'm a lot more efficient through the day. Right, I am more saner through the day. And now I compare myself to 4 years, 5 years back, where I'd have slept late in the night. I'll get up groggy. And then I try to take decisions. Now, I'm actually not in the best place to take the right decisions, right? And so if you think about your life like that, saying that being healthy, being peaceful, being unaffected, improves your chances of running your business, you'll do it. You'll do it for the reasons of business, if not nothing else, right? It's... I might end up sounding like a Guruji here, but money is not everything, so it's...
No, I think what's very evident, Nithin, is that what's common between the way you built Zerodha, what's common between how you think about everything, it's more of an inside-out approach rather than an outside-in approach. And I think that's what really has...
And I'll tell you, the secret for that is not raising venture capital.
Okay.
Because
I think I've got enough material for promoting Proficorn for the rest of my life.
Because if we had ended up raising venture capital, I would have gotten into the same, investors asking, grow fast and do this, compromise everything for growth. I would not be in a position to be able to say it. So.
Now I'm going to go to something that's very close to your heart, and I know for a fact that for a lot of us it doesn't matter. So I thought I'd ask you this question so that you can give us a perspective. I know you're super passionate about climate change. For most of us here, average business owners, okay, when we hear someone talk about climate change, and I'll tell you, unfiltered, if you speak about climate change, probably some of us may think like, it's easy for him to talk about climate change. I'm worried about the change of employees in my team, right? So, how would you sell the idea of climate change, and why is it important? Why should we care?
Yeah, firstly, a disclaimer. I think, when I talk about climate change, I am actually being a hypocrite, right? Because, see, the only way, I think, to solve for Okay, so firstly, what has happened to the planet is, I think, there's this excessive consumerism, right? Which is all of us constantly want more and more and more. We want bigger buildings, we need bigger cars, we need bigger houses, we need to travel to the furthest away place away from from you to enjoy a holiday and etc. Right? And all of this social media is only making it worse, right? Because you are constantly craving for more and more and more, and capitalism is working that way. But in the process, we're actually destroying the planet, right? This summer is the hottest summer the planet has ever been, right? And I think we have pushed the planet to a brink and more. So see, why do I mean, all of us here, I think we are all earning money because we'll make a saving, our kids will enjoy it, or build a business or whatever. But what's the point if 20, 30 years from now, there is not going to be any planet? I mean, why even do whatever we're doing, right? We'd rather just enjoy the next 20, 30 years of our life. So I think I get it, when we are in this rush of building a business, it's very hard to really focus on other things. But I think all of us have, as a humanity, as together, we've pushed the planet to a brink, and we're already seeing the outcomes. And it's going to only get worse and worse with time. And the only way, the reason I said I'm a hypocrite is because the only way you can really truly solve for it is by by reducing your carbon footprint, which means just use as little of anything out there as possible. So if I come here in a petrol car, which is a V6 engine, I'm a hypocrite even saying something like this, right? So I think I do whatever I can, but I can do a lot more. I try to do my conscience check by supporting everyone else who are working on this climate change issues, and trying to, like for example, every time I travel, I'll go buy carbon credits, right? But does it solve for the problem? Not really, I mean, me buying carbon credits doesn't really reduce my carbon footprint, I mean, it's just a conscience check mark of sorts. So I need to do a lot more, and so yeah, there are two causes that are very close to me, which we are supporting through Rain Matter Foundation. One is climate change. There, I'm a backseat guy. I sit and watch. I don't try to be the face of it because of my personal issues. I still have to get over my carbon footprint. But the second thing that I'm very passionate about is around this whole concept of, like I said earlier, wealth inequality. And I think the only way to solve for this is to have more entrepreneurs out there, right? I think that one of the big issues for India has been that, okay, I don't know if it's the right analogy to give, but think of East India Company, right? East India Company came to India, they built roads, they gave us rail, they gave us English, but they took away all the wealth, right? Think of all the venture capitalists sitting outside, right? So they're giving you, like a food delivery app, they're giving you whatever, quickly you can transfer money, etc. But where is wealth getting created? The wealth is really getting created outside India, right? And that is a problem. I mean, the problem is if India has to grow inclusively, if you want more Indians to get wealthy, the wealth creation has to happen in India. If wealth creation has to happen in India, you need entrepreneurs. All of 100 zillion times of these many entrepreneurs need to be in India, create wealth, and then we can grow inclusively as a country. It's not just 1% of India which is growing. We need majority of India which is growing. And I think as Zerodha today and whatever influence I've been able to bear, I think we're in a decent position to make it happen. At Zerodha, the reason I am excited to get up every morning is because I think if more customers of Zerodha do better with their money, can we get more of Zerodha customers to back Indian entrepreneurs? So that way, Indian wealth is really backing Indian entrepreneurs, so... Yeah, but like I said, life doesn't get easier, I mean, so I think I break my head more on all of these things, which is a lot harder, because when I was younger, there was only one thing to do, build the business, so I didn't have to, question myself on all my other life choices today, so, but yeah.
No, what you said, Nithin, I somehow feel you belong here to this room, because this is what we keep talking about, even as a community, saying, as long as each one of us here is able to add value to the lives of our customers, in exchange generate value, and use that abundance to be able to elevate the quality of life of their team members' families, their own families. I think for us, this is our definition of nation building. We've kept it as simple as that, and thank you for voicing that out today, that at the end of the day, the wealth inequality can can be bridged only and only when more entrepreneurs achieve more success and it's not concentrated success in the hands of a few. So thank you for voicing that out. I have last two questions. One is as a father. So I'm a dad to a 9-month-old. I know you are a dad to an 8-year-old. And this is one thought that I wake up with every morning. My daughter is going to grow up in an environment of abundance. Okay? And the thought I wake up with every morning is how can I instill moderation as a value, even though we've been able to provide abundance. How do you deal with that?
My biggest life problem right now. I mean, because everyone around our family, around Kian, treat him like, special. And like I said earlier, right, as in right now, like I spend a lot of time with him, helping him figure what he likes, love to do. Because I think the first most important thing for me is to help him find something he's happy doing. Right, and he doesn't go searching for happiness by spending things, spending money, because I think as soon as you find that happiness in something which is not material, I think it solves for a lot of problems. I mean, and this is an experience I've had. Now I've spoken to everyone from Nandan Nilkini to Narayan Murthy to Prem. A question to them was the same: how did your kids turn out okay? It's so with all this abundance, like how did they? I mean, firstly, I think these parents did an amazing job. In terms of how their values, right, as in how they were leading their lives. But they've also been able to instill, I think a lot of what happens with the kid is also the surrounding, his friends, circle, etc. So I've put him into a school which is opposite of capitalism. I mean, it's the Jiddu Krishnamurthy school. And I mean, no one really cares there, who I am, so yeah, so I'm trying to put him in, backgrounds, but it's still very hard, Kailash and me were talking, we guys had done a holiday recently to Phuket and, and Kian somewhere came and said, why Phuket and not Bali, so I'm like, dude, this is a problem, it is, this shouldn't be happening, for a kid, so, no, I mean, it's a struggle, I don't know the answer, so.
Okay. So it's okay, it feels good to feel that we have same struggles. Lastly, as we close, Nithin, what would be your one key message to this room full of MSME business owners? What would you like to leave them with?
Yeah, I mean, see, I already shared my framework around, I think, this whole getting lucky. I also think not every business can become large, right? So don't constantly compare yourself to someone who's bigger and feel, oh, you know what, I need to do more, right? I mean, like I said, just be happy where you are. I mean, if you're a business, you're making profits, you're in a good place. You need to be celebrated, right? Just because, you're making 1 crore, I'm making 2,000 crores, makes no difference. I mean, like it's not because, like recently I was at this event and everyone in that place was, 10 times our revenue, right? And I can't be like now, oh, damn, I need to make 10 times more, otherwise my life sucks, right? As in, so I think that's the key. I think the idea is, is to not keep comparing yourself because, and the problem is I think the media is constantly feeding us these success stories and, it's, I think instinctively we want to emulate it, right? As an instinct, like, you were telling a story of someone, who wanted to raise funds, right? As in just because he saw it in the newspaper, right? And that's a normal behavior. That's how we humans are, right? We get triggered by people around us and what people, define as success, maybe your friend calls up and says, oh, he raised so much money, what are you doing? And you suddenly feel like, oh, dude, I need to raise money, right? As in, I think not letting these things affect is really a superpower. Two is, like I said earlier, I think the business is becoming more and more, world of business is becoming more and more competitive. There is no easy money out there, right? Build moats, right? As in, just keep, improving on your product, as much as possible. The third thing is, I think, when I look back at my life, I don't know if Nikhil has told you, I was really the last in every class from my 3rd standard. As in, I was like the worst kid in school, in college. I dropped out of college. I mean, Nikhil, I think, actually outperformed me, by dropping out from school itself. But I'm saying, when I look back in my life, I think what I did all right in my life, And I think it was when I compare myself to a lot of my friends and peers from that times, I think a lot of my friends and peers, once they got the job, they started earning some money, they stopped being curious. The wanting to learn newer things and the curiosity dropped, right? Because everyone thought it's settled. I've seen that happen in business as well. As soon as you, as a business, you reach a certain level, now you think, dude, you arrived in life and I don't need to learn as much. There is no two ways about it. I still spend every day 2 to 3 hours listening to podcasts and reading books. You just have to constantly keep upping your game. As in, there is, I don't think we can let the curiosity drop. And curiosity not just to learn about business, right? Because then you're only kind of improving one facet of your brains. I have realized that every time, say, I've tried to learn a new musical instrument, I have intellectually I've become a little more better as a person, right? So the curiosity should be for everything. Anything that comes around you, be curious about it, because you never know, when you start asking those questions, you'll start finding business opportunities there as well, soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nithin. I want to say one thing. A couple of weeks ago, when you shared that tweet about your father-in-law, I reshared it and I said, Nithin Kamath is the Ratan Tata of our generation. Today I want to say, I think I was wrong. Nithin Kamath is the Nithin Kamath of our generation. Thank you for being here.